prochaine, on est belle.
Ouais.
On va rentrer dans le
Oui.
Bon. Ouais, c'est ça, plus un micro de
Bienvenue au code de SIO. Désirez-vous que je répète la lecture des consignes en anglais ou en français?
En anglais.
As 30 minutes to present its case to the judge. I will show a board for the 10, 5, last 2 minutes, and last 30 seconds of the presentation. During the last 10 seconds of the speech, I will indicate by means of my two hands the number of remaining seconds. The team not having handled its presentation after 20 minutes will be stopped to move on to the period of questions. A period of questions of a maximal duration of 5 minutes is assigned to the jury at the end of the presentation. I will invite the judges to introduce themselves and then the team will begin.
Maurice Guénard, Strategy Consultant à la Société de l'assurance automobile.
Benchi, gestionnaire à la SAC.
Jacqueline Corbett, Professor of MIS at ULaval.
Linguisna, gestionnaire à la SAC.
Arroyo Sonomi, RP leader here at the university.
Good afternoon, management team of SAAQ. We are Art Consulting. Myself and my colleagues, Tricia and Robin. Today, we are going to try to enhance your business practices at SAAQ and transform your organization into a fortune teller through business intelligence. Our agenda for today is going over the mandate. Robin will be doing that. After that, we will be going over an analysis using the relevant information that we took from the case and synthesizing it, which we use to come up with our strategy. We will present our recommendation and finally how to implement business intelligence within your organization.
So today our goal is to really demonstrate the value of implementing business intelligence within SAAQ in order to accurately and also efficiently analyze the data that you receive. Ultimately, all of this will allow Quebec's driving record to improve, which is ultimately the goal here. So we're just going to go through a brief analysis. So looking at the information that was given within the case, some of the main factors that popped out had to do with speeding, drinking and driving, and the cell phone use. So these were some information that you received based on what was other individuals found was important in terms of just reduce the number of collisions and ultimately injuries and unfortunately deaths that may occur on the road. So looking at these three factors, we decided that we could implement this into our solution today in order to demonstrate how business intelligence can ultimately improve your operations and ultimately reduce those these three elements here. Of course, there's others, but being the three main ones, it's some of the ones that we would like to touch on today. So Tricia will bring you through more analysis.
So the perceptions of the data that Robin presented come from data that you collect as well. As mentioned in the case, right now your data is in separate places and you're moving forward, and this creates a bit of barriers when trying to transmit the information from one place to another. But you did mention that moving forward, you wanted to connect all these data by implementing an ERP system. So this ERP system will ultimately integrate your information, and I'll let Ade touch a bit more on that.
Yeah, thank you, Tricia. So as Tristan mentioned, you're going to implement an ERP system which will amalgamate plenty of data. However, what is there to do with all of this data, right? You've housed all this information within your company. However, you have to come up with insights using this information. So what more can you do with it? Well, business intelligence can help you reach conclusions through predictive modeling and essentially being able to tell the future, business intelligence being the crystal ball in this analogy. Our overall strategy will have to do with implementing business intelligence, making sure that it intertwines with your ERP system, and also potentially adding on a device to collect and feed data into the business intelligence software. So, why business intelligence? Great question. Your company is doing great. You've been making progress continually over the last 5 years. However, as we've noticed, the progress is stagnating. So ultimately, it can be inferred that this may not be sustainable, and every life counts. So we can start with business intelligence provides powerful analysis. Powerful analysis meaning it can synthesize thousands of fields using thousands of metrics within seconds. And this analysis, which originally would be done in person, can be done within seconds using business intelligence, which increases effectiveness and efficiency within your organization. Intelligent insights after this synthesis and analysis basically has to do with the predictive modeling that I was touching on earlier. So you can reach conclusions before they actually happen, which is a very proactive approach, and we'll touch on examples later on. And finally, up-to-date information. So we are looking at implementing a business intelligence software that would be done over the cloud. So we understand that you have multiple locations, and using business intelligence software over the cloud, all of your locations will have the information at the exact same time, so that everyone can generate the exact same insights instantly, so that a life that can potentially be in danger, instead of waiting a month and seeing what can happen, you can save that life instantly within seconds, knowing exactly what will happen. Overall, the key takeaway is that meeting information and knowledge from existing data can be absorbed through this business intelligence, and you can reach conclusions that currently, with your current state of operations, would not originally be able to be synthesized.
So Adam touched on the importance of business intelligence and what it can do for your organization. But we wanted to go a step further. So we wanted to introduce business intelligence with more increased relevant data, and we're going to show you how to do that. But first, we're going to look at the data that you collect now and how you collect it with a few examples, and then what would be more ideal. So right now, most of the data collected is through reports. People report incidents, they also report injuries, accidents, and then there's standardized information when people fill out their applications, and then notifications only happen when they're reported. But what would be more ideal would be real-time updates of driving habits, as well as personalized information with extended information such as demographics, as well as area, location, places where there's higher risk. And this we would like to do through connected cars. So making the car an asset, the one that transmits the data. And what we mean by this is that we would want to track other information such as speed, sudden braking, instant airbag warnings, times of driving, and high-risk times, and include a driver profile that will help with the risk profile for each driver, including their age, on a voluntary basis, race, gender, and as well as their driving history on these connected cars. And what this means is with these connected cars, you can do specific and instantaneous things, such as sending indications for young drivers, for example, if their parents want to know when they're speeding. With the connected device, they'll be able to have a notification that your child is above the speed limit at this time, and these can cause repercussions and have a direct impact on their driving habits, as well as allow your organization and the driver themselves to see their habits. So a lot of people may not know how they drive or if they're driving dangerously or recklessly, but with the data in front of them, they can see and adjust accordingly, and as well as indicate, as I mentioned before, the risk for these drivers. Because you have so much information on how they drive with the tracking, then you'll be able to specifically tailor their risk profile a bit better than what it is right now. And I'll hand it off again to Adik to discuss the integration of business intelligence and this information.
Right, thank you, Tricia. So, touching on improved risk profiles, as I mentioned, business intelligence essentially has to do with a proactive approach. So, I'll give you an example. For example, taking a male driver driving a blue car, 18 to 20 years old. Beyond this, adding thousands of filters, figuring out, height, etc., and basically determining that he's a much more dangerous driver than any other driver on the road. This would have taken, at least a week of analysis, manual analysis done by an employee. Business intelligence software can take the ERP information and bring it into the software itself, and then be able to spit out these insightful conclusions that will be able to save lives. Overall, the improved risk profiles has to do with drivers being able to see their app based on the profile, realizing that if they drive at 2 a.m. in the morning, they're probably going to be in trouble. Incentive for safe driving basically has to do with the idea of, for example, there are large insurance companies already adding chips to cars and allowing users of these chips to save 5% on their insurance fees. So this is just one example of safe driving. More safe driving can be incentivized through loyalty programs. But ultimately, business intelligence will allow you to see accidents before they happen. And I believe the accident rate is maybe, I think, 3.2 deaths over 100,000 drivers. You'll be able to reduce this by being able to see what exactly causes these accidents and reaching these conclusions before they take months, being able to see them within seconds, and everyone within Quebec, within all of your offices, being able to see these conclusions at the exact same time.
So moving forward, we're going to go into our recommendation for this strategy. It's basically synthesizing how we want to approach these new initiatives. So just to reiterate, what we want to do is suggest that you do implement the business intelligence to harness the power of that, as well as have the data to use to analyze through connected cars, so either through a device in the car or a chip. As Adik mentioned, just having the cars themselves from their drivers collect and transmit this data. And what this means, so as we mentioned before, it does improve predictions. It also increases the efficiency and effectiveness with the business intelligence, as well as the proactive measurements based on current data and not data that was in the past from last year, last week, or last month. It also does improve the risk profiles, and then the incentives for driving will go a bit more into detail with the how. So for the business intelligence solution, we do know that you're on your way to implementing the ERP, which is the backbone of this BI solution, because we would like it integrated in the implementation to have it work with your current data as well as the new initiative that we're proposing. And I'll hand it off to Robin to discuss the proposal for the connected cars device.
So yeah, basically it is going to be a further engagement where you decide what device is best suited for SAAQ, and there's many options out there, as Adik mentioned, as insurance companies are now looking into this. So simply the device can be anything from a chip to something else that is placed into the cars, which then has, some of them will have applications that come along with it. So not only the drivers can go in and they can see, well, why am I charged such a high insurance rate? What can I do to reduce it? So maybe they're noticing that they're braking very suddenly, or they're speeding in high-risk areas, or they're driving even postal codes using GPS now. They can see different areas where a lot of accidents are happening, or streets that are cluttered. So different information like this will provide not only the drivers with information as to their habits, but also the insurance providers. So these risk profiles that are created, as Adik mentioned, they're based on very simple demographics. But using business intelligence and the data that's collected from these devices, you can really narrow in. You can use the algorithms and you can determine, okay, maybe all males, but is it really all males between 18 and 19, or is it only ones living in postal code here? Or is it ones that have this level education? Or is it ones that drive this car? Different information like that is going to be able to be received through these devices. So not only will you guys have that information, but also your company will be processing it through the business intelligence system to develop these algorithms. It'll then be transmitted through this new ERP system. So when your call center agent gets a phone call about insurance information, they have that information readily available. It's up to date. They can give proper quotes. Even individuals can log in through a portal and they can enter their information online, and they can also get quotes from you just in terms of insurance rates. And a lot of your stakeholders are individuals like the police force, which is mentioned. So you can work hand in hand with them through this online portal as well. They can have access to your data, and you can work alongside them to determine different elements that you need to keep in mind and also watch out for. So Tricia will just continue talking about how we'll implement it.
So at a higher level, how we see this device program working is it's on a voluntary basis. Because it is something new, it would be better to have a trial first to see how effective the devices will be. And voluntary basis because a lot of people may not be comfortable with giving the information, but some may be, especially young drivers that are a high risk and high target demographic for you. And this voluntary subscription will also include incentives for participants. So like my colleague Adik mentioned before, a reduction on insurance costs for having the device on board for tracking information, assuming that with the information, those drivers will drive safer. And all in all, the overall goal that we want to achieve is to combine the power of this business intelligence with the data collected from these connected cars to better understand and predict the driving habits for safe driving.
And before we go into implementation, I would also like to just briefly elaborate on business intelligence that can be implemented for internal activities. So you deal with the registration and handing out of licenses to drivers. You deal with the programs of promotion of safe driving, and you also deal with the rehabilitation programs. So all of these can be curated according to the specific users through business intelligence. Just an idea. So we touched on the consumer aspect and overall leading to very safe driving, but even your internal activities can be optimized through business intelligence. It works both ways.
So yeah, so I'll go into implementation now. So as Adik mentioned, there are various stakeholders. So we have broken down the implementation to include how you will be communicating with these stakeholders, how much it's going to cost, and also the scope of this implementation. So just looking at the first phase. So this is just your initiation phase. Well, your goal, you'll get a feel within your company, within your executives. You will talk amongst each other, and you'll gather your actual organization needs. So you'll understand what you're looking for, which type of data is of interest to you, where you will be collecting this data. It'll just be meetings amongst executives and key stakeholders, and ultimately the approvals. Shouldn't take too long, as there has already been, the ball has already started rolling. You are already understand that you're in need for the ability to analyze more data, and you've also already made the decision to go forward with a new ERP system. So after this first week, where you're just doing more of a consultant basis, we've assigned a cost based on consultant fees. So you will, we would request a further engagement to just sit down with you and kind of gather your organizational needs in order to determine the best route and discuss possibilities. So just make you aware of the different devices out there and the different data that you can collect. So this will just be on an hourly basis, which we've assigned a $300 an hour, so $3,000, that's how we get that number. Then going forward, we're into phase 2. In this phase, it'll be a little bit more detailed in terms of the exact system needs. So after the first one, where it's more the executive meetings, we will have professionals on our team meeting and writing down exactly what system capabilities is necessary, which ones will fit within your current ERP system, and also the project team that you might need. So we'll just discuss different types of individuals you should put on your project team, who should lead it, and just give some information as to the communication that's necessary, just to get all of your staff on board and really excited about this new initiative that SAAQ can undertake. Again, this will be a consulting fee basis, as depending on which consultants that we place on the file with you, it'll roughly be around $13,000 just to get through this next week of consulting and discussing. Adik will go through phase 3, which is more of the nitty-gritty details, so I'll send it to him.
Thank you, Robin. Essentially, Robin went over the initiation and planning of the implementation process. I'll be going over the execution and closure. So execution, we're looking at about 1 year. This is the bulk of the implementation plan. This has to do with application development, the app, and the portal. So essentially the app is a mobile version of the portal. Developing all of this, we know that you have a portal existing already in place, but so consultants will be brought in and seeing if we can use the existing portal or we have to start brand new. Either way, creating an interface so that users can access their profiles, and this will be used to collect the data. Also, the device selection for the connected cars, figuring out which method you will be using to collect the data from the cars so that it can feed into the business intelligence software. And integration implementation of the business intelligence software itself. Integration meaning that you will have an ERP system in place and having this business intelligence software speak with the ERP interchangeably, making sure that they're on the same page in terms of metrics and data gathered so that they can talk to each other. And finally, this whole development process with the developers, the consultants, and the internal project teams, this whole execution program will be done iteratively, meaning that the whole development, the testing, the feedback, it will all be done in a continuous fashion, always being refined over a 1-year span. Once everything is developed and it's ready for launch, it will be able to be accessed by all of your employees, which will lead to full-time personnel. This is actually the investment for phase 3. So we're looking at consulting fees and also the IT development staff over a 1-year period. And so phase 4, the closure, as I was mentioning, just a 1-month quick program, has to do with the training costs and more of change management, making sure that everyone is aware of the change, accepts the change, and understands how the change will take place. So a consultant will be there to go over this and internally incorporating the training. So overall, for 1 month, this just has to do with the opportunity cost, the time required for the training.
So in conclusion, we'll just bring it back to our main strategy or our main recommendation, which is to go forward with the business intelligence solution, but to take it a step further and increase the data that will be available so that you can improve predictions, increase efficiency and effectiveness, as well as take proactive measures. It will also improve risk profiles and incentivize safe driving, as we mentioned before, but ultimately, to go back to our mandate, to increase safe driving by demonstrating to you that the implementation of business intelligence will more accurately and efficiently analyze this data and improve the road safety record.
On behalf of our consulting, I hope you now understand how we can transform your organization into a fortune teller through business intelligence. Thank you very much.
Question here. How do you foster the adoption of a device that's actually a big brother in your car?
So for us, the reason why we wanted to start it on a trial basis and voluntary is because we are in an age where people are allowing people to access data such as that. So on our phones itself, we have Find Your Friends on iPhones that let people know where you are at an exact location. And there are, as Adik mentioned before, insurance companies that are already implementing this. So we do see that people are willing to give up some of their data for a reduction in cost and insurance. And we're hoping that in Quebec, it'll be the same as well. And as we move forward, it'll just expand and become more of a standard and a regularity rather than a fear or a risk.
On the same token, how do you ensure that people are not answering where their friends are while they're driving?
So for us, the device chosen will definitely be the biggest part, and there are certain chips or devices that can track whether you have your phone on, but the main part is that the device tracking will be done on the device and not your phone. So you can check the data and of how you're driving after you're not driving, such as some GPSs don't let you touch your phone while it's going because you're driving. It would be the same type of security features in that.
ERP, you're saying that they're going to interconnect with your BI solution. ERP, you need a lot, they're your operations. How are you going to avoid performance issues while these two are talking to each other. BI and ERP, retraction you're talking about.
Okay. So basically, you're seeing that there might be a little bit of confusion when they're talking to each other.
Your ERP, people are working on it, you don't want to disturb them, and suddenly you have messages coming from your BI going to your ERP. It's
Right.
more transactions.
Yeah, no, I totally understand. So we're looking at the interconnection in terms of just data transfer. So ERP is literally just going to provide the data as the devices as well, so that it feeds into the business intelligence software. So all the conclusions will be reached through business intelligence software, and in terms of the interconnectivity, it just has to do with speaking to each other to obtain data.
My question it falls a little bit on the lines of this other question. Since you opened this door of crystal ball, and the case of this I can't remember, male driver in a blue car, and
18 to 20,
whatever the
yeah.
situation is. My question is, so what in that scenario? Do you foresee simply changing the insurance premiums for males of that age who drive blue cars, or are you going to intervene? Would you foresee us intervening real time? Because you also mentioned that as an important dimension of BI.
Yeah.
So what we have the crystal ball, we know an accident's going to happen, what's the continuation of that story?
Definitely. So the crystal ball, I guess from the internal perspective, is a little bit more tangible in terms of being able to go and promote and charge premiums directly to those people. But in terms of the safety, as you said, it's really the driver behavior that drives a lot of the risks on the road. And in terms of behavior, then you can look at it as consumer behavior. So this is kind of touchy. To make sure that all the users are on board, there's going to be, this can be done through another further engagement, but understanding how users will behave with an app that may, restrict their car from driving at a certain time, right? And then maybe they have to contact their insurance provider, and then you can set up a certain live desk so that they can obtain a code and make sure they're in a good state or whatnot. But in terms of intervening, it's fragile based on consumer behavior, but it's definitely possible, right? Because it's all done through the cloud and it's interconnected with the internet. So.
Or you'll have their parent call them on
So,
their cell phone. Your allowance will be cut this week.
Like I said, touchy topic there.
Lots of data out there. Do you foresee a major investment for us?
In terms of selling your data?
No, in terms of storage?
So for us, we do understand that it is a big cost and a big engagement, which is why, as Robin mentioned, we would have to discuss it further, because the BI and within ERP and all this data collected will require a lot of servers, a lot of tech support as well, whether that's external to cloud providers. So having servers outside, which is a bit, such as Amazon or Alibaba, or you can host them inside if there's way too much. But we also assume with the business intelligence that you'll be able to synthesize this data and keep the ones that are relevant and important. So come up with policies and standards for which one should remain in the system for certain years or for certain times. And then that way it'll keep the amount of data to a manageable amount.
C'est bon. Je scannerai pas.
solution.
Ouais, je suis plus sûr. J'étais un peu perdu, mais voilà.
Le fil est comme coupé un petit peu. On a une solution. Elle va parler au CRM, mais elle retraite juste d'une façon. Mais elle est supposée donner des gains, quelqu'un qui fait des cotations.
Mais sauf que moi, là, c'est pas le secteur privé plus que
Exactement.
pour nous.
Exact.
Moi, c'est pas clair dans mon esprit. Là,
Par contre, il y avait.
la solution a un avantage direct. Là. Je trouve que la démonstration du bénéfice pour nous
Et pas clair, non.
c'est pas clair.
Par contre, ils ont bien compris, que la réponse soit bonne au moins. Au moins, il était dans la bonne. Ils sont dans la bonne track, là, cette gang-là.
Ouais.
Mais est-ce que la solution est correcte? Je suis un peu.
Ils sont dans la gang de LM.
C'est ça. Mais peut-être au début de cette gang-là. Là. OK, bon. C'est ça.
Ils sont dans la gang.
Ou puis son l'accent de la jeune fille asiatique, j'ai plus de difficultés.
C'est dur de se déplier après.